May it please the court. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As Ms. Todd stood before you on Monday in her opening statement and told you this is not a case about who did it. And in fact, all of the evidence that you've seen tells you exactly that. It's not a case about who did it. You haven't seen one shred of evidence in this case that what happened on March 19, 2024 was caused by anyone other than Carly Madison Gregg. The defense also told you during opening statements on Monday that the state wants you to leave your common sense at the door. That they want you to tie it up in a bucket and leave it at the door. Ladies and gentlemen, all we want you to do in this case is use your common sense. And in fact, that's what Judge Arthur just instructed you to do in the very first jury instruction. And I want to talk about a few of these jury instructions with you real quick. But in jury instruction number 1, which you'll have back in the room with you, on the second page, he instructs you, you're required and expected to use your good common sense and sound, honest judgment in considering and weighing the testimony of each witness who has testified. You should not be influenced by bias, sympathy, or prejudice. Your verdict should be based on the evidence and not upon speculation, guesswork, or conjecture. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the state, all we want you to do is to go back there and use your good common sense and your sound, honest judgment. And again, I don't believe that you've heard one shred of evidence throughout this entire week that the person who shot Ashley Smylie was in fact Carly Madison Gregg. The person who shot and attempted to kill Heath Smylie was Carly Madison Gregg. And the person who took down the camera from the kitchen and hid it in the refrigerator behind some water bottles was Carly Madison Gregg. Now, Judge Arthur also read you the elements of the crimes. And again, you'll have this information back there with you in the jury instructions. It's jury instruction number 8. And I kind of want to go down because as a simple person myself, I like to kind of have a roadmap as to where I'm going. So I like to be able to look at things and see them on paper, and that's exactly what these jury instructions provide you, kind of a roadmap to help guide you in your deliberations. So I want to talk about count 1, which is the first-degree murder. And there's 3 elements here that it has listed. And the very first one says that on about the 19th day of March, 2024 in Rankin County, Mississippi. That's the first thing you have to find. Ladies and gentlemen, all the testimony has been that this happened on March 19th, 2024. You heard from Deputy Hunter Lewis, who was the first deputy who arrived on the scene there, that he was called out that day, that he received a call from dispatch to respond to 214 Ashton Way, which is in the Farmington Station subdivision off of Old Fannin Road. And you heard Mr. Kevin Collins, the 911 dispatcher, who told you that the call out came on that day at that time about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And you heard them tell you that obviously Farmington Station is located in Rankin County, Mississippi. So there's no question as to that first part of the element there. As to number 2, that the defendant Carly Madison Gregg did willfully, feloniously, and without authority of law kill and murder Ashley Smylie, a human being. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard from Mr. Cliff Dunlap, the deputy coroner, who told you that the manner and cause of death in this case was found to be 3 gunshot wounds to the head, and that it was found to be homicide, and that the victim was indeed identified as Miss Ashley Smylie. The last part there is that she did it with deliberate design to effect the death of Ashley Smylie, the victim. Ladies and gentlemen, I would submit to you that in the state of Mississippi, when it talks about deliberate design, that it's simply talking about an intent to kill. An intent to kill the victim, Ashley Smylie, that she did this with an intent to kill. And I would further submit to you that the use of a deadly weapon is an intent to kill. Whenever you aim a deadly weapon, a pistol, a .357 revolver, at someone's head and you shoot 3 times, that's certainly an intent to kill. Now, again, it's not a case about who did it. and I'll show you some of the video here in just a second. But let's think about what happened that day. So you remember from the video, you saw from the garage, you heard several witnesses talk about it, that earlier that day, Mr. Bennett Germany and another friend, Sarah Catherine Rayleigh, who the defense put on the stand yesterday, you heard from them, and they said they devised this plan to go talk to Ashley, to go talk to Carly's mom, because they were worried about Carly. They were good friends. They were worried about Carly, and they were worried about her drug use, her use of burner phones. And I just want to be clear, ladies, this is not a case about marijuana and whether or not she was smoking marijuana. This is a case about whether or not she was intoxicated, voluntary intoxicated. You heard me talk to Dr. Clark about that she would, one of these times that she says she has one of these events where she supposedly zoned out. That, in fact, what happened was that she went and smoked marijuana. It could have been any drug, but it was just marijuana. And she zoned out, and she had this event where supposedly she says that she, fell out on the floor and whatever happened. And she did that after her mom and Heath left one day and went to the grocery store. But I just want to be clear, it's not a case about marijuana. It's simply a case about, her actions. And so Bennett and Sarah Catherine, they devised this plan. They're going to tell Miss Smylie. Well, obviously, you heard testimony that one of the things that Miss Smylie was worried about was her daughter, Carly, the love of her life. You heard that she had another daughter who died at a very young age from some type of genetic disorder that she had. So you got Carly here. She's the love of Ashley's life. Obviously, she's disappointed, probably a little bit sad, probably worried for her daughter. And the last thing that she wants her to do, according to the defense, is turn into her dad, right? Her biological dad, who you've heard about, who obviously liked to use a lot of drugs, abuse a lot of drugs. So at some point, she confronts Carly. She searches her backpack, whether in the car, on the ride home, or at the school. And then you see them get home, and you heard Dr. Pickett talk about it yesterday, that the situation seemed a little bit tense, right? That they get out of the car in their garage. You don't hear, they're not talking to each other. And they go in, you see Ashley put her coat and her phone down on the bar there in the kitchen, and she proceeds directly to the side of the house where Carly's room is located, presumably to start searching through Carly's room, right? And so you see Carly kind of walk back and forth. You see her walk there to the living room area and kind of listen to see what her mom's doing. At some point, she eventually takes the dogs out, right? I don't know what happened while she was outside, ladies and gentlemen, but at some point whenever she was outside, she made up her mind, if not long before. We'll talk about that in a second, her conversations with her friend from MSMS, Thad, that you heard from. But at some point outside, she makes up her mind exactly what she's going to do. And she comes back in from taking out the dogs. She walks there to that living room area, kind of listens to see if her mom's still in her room. And then, without hesitation, she walks, as Dr. Pickett said, to the side of the house, her mom and Heath's bedroom, where this pistol is located. She knows it's located there. Now, they want you to believe that from the time she brought the dogs back in, or took the dogs out, that she blacked out at that point. You heard me ask Dr. Clark. Well, from the time she took out the dogs to the time she was arrested by Deputy Shack, who you also heard from, that she was blacked out in that period. Well, that's a real convenient time to be blacked out, right? And so she brings the dogs back in, and she goes directly to her mom's room and Heath's room, and she retrieves this pistol. And you see her walk back across the screen. Well, when she gets there, she looks around the corner into the kitchen to make sure that her mom hasn't come out of her room, knowing exactly what she's doing. Cool, calm, calculated, and callous. She walks directly, she proceeds to her room, and a couple seconds later, you hear the shots. Boom, boom. You hear 2 shots within 3 seconds of each other. You've seen the pictures. You heard Dr. Pickett testify yesterday. 2 well-placed shots right to the side of Miss Smiley's head, a relatively small target. And then a couple seconds later, boom, you hear a third shot right under the chin. And we believe it's right under the chin is the third shot. We know it's right under the chin. We believe it's the third shot. You heard Deputy Investigator Burnell talk about the stippling, the powder burn around the shot, right? And he tells you that based off his training and experience that shot had to be within 36 inches because that's when you see stippling. The powder that comes out that's still ignited, that doesn't have time to burn, and it burns right here on Miss Smylie's face. And then what does she do? Immediately. You'll see on the video that happens at 4:14 p.m. Immediately she comes back in. She gets on her mom's phone. She has the wherewithal to enter her mom's code onto her phone and to text someone specific. And that someone specific was her stepdad, Smylie. And you'll see that text message was sent within the same minute, 4:14, that she shot and killed her mom. And what did she say to him? Something to the effect of, "When are you going to be home, honey?" And it's perfect grammar. The comma's in the right place right before honey. Right? She knows exactly what she's doing. She comes in there. She knows exactly where the camera is. She comes. She's got the gun hidden behind her. She slides down into the chair, and you hear her put it down on the bar stool. You can hear whenever you get back to the jury room. You'll be able to hear that. She puts it down. You hear Dr. Pickett talk about she's got the wherewithal to know exactly where the dogs are. The dog walks behind her. You'll see him. He walks behind her, and she knows let me make sure he doesn't knock the gun off. Right? At some point, she begins text messaging her friend. She shoots her mom at 4:14. Then she invites her friend from school, who you heard from, Brooke. She invites Brooke over. You'll see the messages between her and Brooke. They're in evidence. And you'll see where Brooke texts her at 4:58, basically 45 minutes later, and says, "I'm here." Brooke had no clue what she was about to walk into. Carly meets her at the door, says something to the effect of, "Have you ever seen or are you squeamish of dead bodies?" Well, Brooke says, "I don't know. I've never seen a dead body." Not thinking that there's a dead body currently in the house. Right? Carly's walking around with the gun. Carly leads her back to the room and shows her dead mom, who's got her arms crossed over, who's been posed. Right? She's posed her mom at this point. She's put her arms across her. She's put a red towel over her face. Again, cool, calm, and calculated. She knew exactly what she was doing. She knew exactly who to reach out to during this time. She's reaching out to all of her friends. You heard from multiple friends that she reached out to. You heard from her friend Thad, who she was texting. And actually, before they text, she calls him on FaceTime. And what does she tell him? Well, she tells him, and excuse my language, "I fucked up." Right? Well, how do you know you messed up if you don't know what you did? She knew what she did. She knew the difference between right and wrong. So she obviously tells Thad, but she can't tell him what she did. She knows she can't tell him over the phone. Well, then, being a good friend and being worried, Thad begins to text her after they get off the phone. And they're messaging. Well, of course, in the meantime, she's walking back and forth in and out of her room where her mom's located. She's walking back and forth. She's sending messages to multiple other friends. And Dad is messaging her, but he can't get a response. And he says, "I'm worried about you. If I don't hear from you, I'm going to call 911. And she says, "You can't do that." Why? Why can't you call 911? Because she knows what she did was wrong. And she doesn't want 911 over there because she's about to try to kill Heath. And she doesn't want 911 over there because it's going to ruin her plan. Right? Knowing the difference between right and wrong. And you heard me, I very specifically asked Dr. Clark, you render the opinion that she could not appreciate the difference between right and wrong. right? Well, you heard Dr. Pickett and Dr. Gugliano testify yesterday. That's not the standard in Mississippi. In fact, there's an instruction in here that defines, it's jury instruction number 10, that defines exactly what insanity is. And it goes on down there, and it says that the accused was laboring under such defective reasoning from disease of mind as to not know the nature and quality of the act she was doing, or 2, if she did know the nature and quality of the act she was doing, she did not know what she was doing was wrong. It's not appreciate. The standard in Mississippi is not that you appreciate the difference between right and wrong. She knew what she was doing was wrong. Look at all of her actions. Sneaking around the house. Calling over the friends. Knowing not to tell the friends over the phone what she did. SK that they called in yesterday, her friend. You know, what does she say? Dr. Pickett talked about it. Well, she says, I'll tell you tomorrow if I see you. Well, why would I not see you tomorrow? Well, because I'm going to be in jail, probably. Right? She knew what she did was wrong. She tells her friend, Brooke, whenever Brooke comes over, she says, I put 3 in my mom, and I've got 3 more in here for Heath whenever he gets home. Right? I'm going to take care of him. 3 more what? 3 more bullets in the gun. She texted her friend, Bennett, tried to call him, did call him, text him, and he tells her, of course, again, he's a good friend too. He's worried about her. Same one that told her mom what had been going on, that he was worried about her. Trying to do the right thing. He tells her, don't hurt yourself or anyone else. Don't harm yourself or anyone else. What does she say? Too late. Again, knowing the difference between right and wrong. You saw the video from Deputy Shack, and they want you to believe that he did something wrong because he muted his body cam or whatever he did. He told you that whenever he got Carly out of the back of his car and the other deputy started performing the GSR test on Carly's hands, which you saw them doing there, being as nice as all get out to her, right? Baby, are you okay? You heard him say that his involvement in the case was over. He never went in the house. He didn't transport her to jail or anywhere else.
2 minutes, sir.
They want you to believe that him muting the body cam was him doing something wrong. He told you that his involvement was done and over at that time. Now, I want to play just a short clip of the video for you before my time's up. Thank you, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen, there's no doubt that Carly Madison Gregg is the one who killed her mom, Ashley Smylie. There's no doubt that she attempted to kill Smylie when she aimed the gun right at his head and shot and hit him in the shoulder. And there's no doubt that she's the one who hid the camera, thus tampering with evidence in the refrigerator. And we would ask you that you go back there and you find her guilty of all three, because she was not insane at the time that this happened. She knew exactly what she was doing, and she knew the difference between right and wrong.